Imagine being so determined to escape your past that you not only changed your name, but also danced your way to stardom, becoming a legend in the process. Ginger Rogers did exactly that, but her story was far from a fairy tale. Between her father's desperate kidnappings, 5 tumultuous marriages, including one to her cousin's ex, and a romance that reduced billionaire Howard Hughes to tears, her life had plenty of drama that the cameras never captured. Let's unravel the hidden chapters of Hollywood's most graceful rebel, who proved time and again that she knew how to stand her ground, backwards and in heels. Ginger Rogers entered the world on July 16, 1911, under a name very different from the glamorous moniker that would one day adorn movie posters. Born Virginia Katherine McMath in Independence, Missouri, her early family life was a whirlwind of conflict. Her mother, Lela Owens, was the picture of ambition. A newspaper reporter with a flair for scriptwriting and a fierce desire to conquer Hollywood. Meanwhile, Ginger's father, William McMath, was an electrical engineer who was perhaps too clever for his own good. The couple's marriage hit the rocks almost immediately, and their arguments often ended with William clinging desperately to the idea of keeping his family together. In a dramatic move that sounds like something straight from a silent film, he kidnapped young Virginia twice before Lela finally put an end to it through a court battle. By the time Ginger turned 11, William was essentially a ghost in her life. With that painful chapter behind them, Lela set her sights on Hollywood, determined to make it big as a scriptwriter. Ginger stayed behind with her grandparents in Kansas City until her mother was firmly planted in the film world, proving that Lela was a woman who always had a plan. Eventually, Lela returned for her daughter, and in an effort to move on from a turbulent past, Virginia Katherine McMath became Ginger Rogers, a name that would soon dazzle marquees across the country. Yet even as a child, Ginger found an outlet that foretold her destiny: dancing. After watching local performers from the theater wings, she decided to try a few moves herself. Her passion was so evident that at the tender age of 14, she won a Charleston competition. This single victory granted her a taste of performing, and once that door cracked open, there was no going back. While most teenage girls in the late 1920s might have been dreaming about high school dances, Ginger was getting paid to perform. Her prize-winning dance led to a spot in Eddie Foy's vaudeville act as a stand-in. Far from being intimidated, she stole the show with her knack for comedic timing and agile dance steps. Soon enough, she embarked on a vaudeville tour, making a name for herself before she'd even turned 18. By 1929, she was on Broadway in a production called Top Speed. Almost immediately, producers recognized her as a natural fit for big stages. Within mere weeks, she landed a role in Girl Crazy, sharing the spotlight with an ensemble that showcased America's best up-and-coming entertainers. Critics sang her praises, and theatergoers were smitten with the petite blonde who could move like lightning and crack a joke with perfect comedic timing. Hollywood was beckoning, and Ginger answered the call. She signed first with Paramount Pictures in 1930, but soon found herself dabbling in the short stints at Pathé and Warner Brothers. The early 1930s saw her in movies like Carnival Boat and 42nd Street, quickly building a reputation for witty performances and lively dance sequences. Critics buzzed about her, but it was only the beginning of her meteoric rise. In the midst of these successes, she stayed surprisingly grounded. While many rising stars fell prey to Hollywood's partying lifestyle, Ginger avoided the entire scene. No heavy drinking, no cigarettes, beyond the occasional puff for appearances. She'd go on to credit her disciplined ways to her Christian Science faith, which she'd adopted fervently after a childhood scare involving her stepfather's health. Faith or not, her stamina was incredible. she was either dancing, filming, or meeting with producers nearly every hour of the day. Yet behind that relentless work ethic was a teenager turned young adult who'd already experienced a world of drama. Her personal life was about to get even more complicated, especially when it came to love. The most shocking rumor of Ginger's early years? That she married her own cousin's ex-boyfriend. As outlandish as it sounds, it's true. In 1929, the 17-year-old Ginger married a much older Jack Pepper, 27 to be exact, who had previously dated Ginger's cousin. The speed of their nuptials turned heads, but so did the entire setup. Why was a 27-year-old eyeing a 17-year-old? Had he been waiting in the wings the whole time? These questions made for salacious gossip. Despite the odd circumstances, Ginger and Jack formed an onstage duo, Ginger and Pepper, performing songs and dances that drew moderate acclaim. Yet as with many youthful marriages in Hollywood's golden age, it didn't last. They divorced in 1931, a mere 2 years later, leaving behind more whispers than heartbreak. Interestingly, Ginger never publicly condemned Jack, and he rarely spoke ill of her. Even the cousin stayed tight-lipped, refusing to exploit the scandal for attention. The short-lived marriage barely put a dent in Ginger's skyrocketing career. If anything, the headlines about her personal life only fueled more curiosity about the young star. Soon, Paramount and Warner Brothers were practically wrestling over her next contract. However, it was her eventual partnership with RKO that would truly catapult her to legend status. Before that, though, she had to meet a dashing dance partner who would change everything. When Ginger Rogers teamed up with Fred Astaire for Flying Down to Rio in 1933, no one expected them to overshadow the top-billed stars. But overshadow they did, and audiences clamored for more. Their dynamic was electric. She matched his demanding rehearsal schedules with an unshakable tenacity. Unlike other dance partners who reportedly cried from the pressure, Ginger never shed a tear in front of him, earning Astaire's respect and, to some extent, his awe. Behind closed doors, the rumor mill churned incessantly. Were they secretly in love, or did they hate each other off camera? Their on-screen chemistry felt almost too real, leading fans to speculate about hidden romances. Even legendary actress Katharine Hepburn fueled the intrigue with a witty observation. He gives her class, and she gives him sex appeal. The media seized on lines like that, and gossips dissected every shared glance in their dance routines. Their collaboration produced 9 musicals between 1933 and 1939, an astonishing run that set new standards for Hollywood dance films. But success did not come without conflict. Astaire was known to be a perfectionist, drilling steps until they were flawless. Ginger, equally stubborn, refused to break. The pair had disagreements, but they kept it professional enough that stories of behind-the-scenes battles seldom went public. Fans continued to wonder if the partnership masked a deeper relationship. Both insisted they were simply friends and co-workers. If there was ever anything more, neither confessed it. The mystery only heightened their allure, and every new film release felt like an event. Little did the public know that while her partnership with Astaire soared, her love life was about to take another dramatic turn, this time with one of the wealthiest men in the world. The summer of 1936 proved that Ginger Rogers attracted not just everyday fans, but also high-profile admirers. Enter Howard Hughes, a billionaire playboy, aviator, and film producer who seemed to stop at nothing to claim a woman's heart. He was immediately captivated by Ginger's lively spirit, offering lavish gifts and promising that life with him would be an unending adventure. It started innocently enough, a few expensive dinners, some glitzy parties, and then that fateful day, he slipped an enormous 5-carat emerald ring on her finger, asking for her hand in marriage. Ginger, freshly out of a relationship with actor Lew Ayres, wasn't eager to race down the aisle again. She accepted the ring, but refused to move in with him. In a twist that must have exasperated Hughes, her mother insisted on approving every single date, and Ginger insisted there would be no intimacy until marriage. He found himself courting Ginger and answering to Lela Rogers. The chase went on until Hughes grew weary of the boundaries. Soon, the thoughtful suitor morphed into a controlling figure, allegedly tapping Ginger's phone and hiring spies to watch her. At first, she dismissed her suspicions as paranoia, until they proved true. Hughes had a history of monitoring girlfriends, but this time, his meddling hit a brick wall. When he started undermining Ginger's close relationship with her mother, she drew a hard line. One night, after refusing to accompany him to a dentist's appointment, Ginger learned from a friend that Hughes's car was spotted repeatedly outside another starlet's home. Furious at his betrayal, she decided it was time to cut ties. Add into the drama, Hughes had a severe car accident en route to that dentist visit, suffering multiple stitches across his head. Even then, he tried to pin the blame on Ginger, suggesting she'd pushed him to the brink. Unimpressed, she calmly placed every piece of jewelry he'd ever given her into a box, including that massive emerald ring, and returned it. Witnesses said he cried openly, something the mercurial billionaire rarely did. For Ginger, there was no turning back. Leaving Howard Hughes in the rearview mirror, Ginger turned to yet another marriage, this time with U.S. Marine Jack Briggs in 1943. But that, too, ended after 6 years. It seemed love was always in flux in her life, while her career soared higher. When not filming, she kept to her steadfast routines: tennis twice a week, daily swimming, and a famously strict approach to nutrition, despite her penchant for sweet treats at odd hours. What truly set her apart, though, were her Christian Science beliefs. She'd converted as a child after praying for her stepfather's recovery from a life-threatening illness. From that day forward, doctors were almost absent from her life. She believed in spiritual healing and mind over matter, which clashed starkly with the typical Hollywood star lifestyle. In the early years, this devotion seemed benign, just a guiding principle that helped her avoid self-destructive vices. But in later life, it became a significant point of contention. She developed diabetes, yet reportedly refused mainstream medical interventions, relying instead on prayer and possibly hidden help from those around her. Rumors swirled that her final husband, William Marshall, secretly injected her with insulin under the guise of vitamin shots. Although no official confirmation exists, the story persists as one of Hollywood's whispered tales. Strangely, Ginger's mother, Lela, might have been the more polarizing figure in the family. Known for her involvement in the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals, Lela was a staunch anti-communist who influenced her daughter's career direction. Some modern commentators question whether Lela's political fervor ever compromised Ginger's friendships or co-star relationships behind the scenes, especially during the era of McCarthyism. Indeed, rumors linger that Ginger's mother reworked lines or urged certain scripts to highlight American ideals. Yet Ginger publicly downplayed any direct involvement in political blacklisting. In today's social media world, new claims and speculations pop up periodically. Some point to letters or diaries that hint Ginger occasionally disagreed with her mother's politics. Others focus on her multiple marriages, wondering if she ever regretted not having children, particularly since she was so fond of her grandmother, who raised her in part. Still others debate whether her love story with Fred Astaire ever crossed professional boundaries. These rumors remain largely unverified, fueling an air of mystique around Ginger's personal life. Even decades after her passing, fans online debate everything from her real stance on certain political issues to the unproven claim that she meddled in rewriting film scripts to reflect her religious beliefs. While there's little solid evidence for such theories, they continue swirling, reminding us that certain icons never escape speculation, even in the afterlife. Whatever the controversies, Ginger Rogers' contributions to film and dance remain monumental. She starred in 73 films, pulling off comedic, dramatic, and musical roles that proved her stunning range. The 1940s in particular showcased her star power when she nabbed an Oscar for Kitty Foyle, asserting that she wasn't merely Fred Astaire's dance partner, she was a force in her own right. Her comedic timing sparkled in films like Monkey Business, where she matched wits with Cary Grant and Marilyn Monroe. Directors praised her for being supremely prepared, hitting her marks flawlessly, and exuding an irresistible warmth on camera. Off the big screen, she lit up Broadway, taking lead roles in shows like Hello, Dolly. Well into the 1960s, later she even tried her hand at directing in small venues, showing that her ambition extended behind the curtain. One might think her career alone was enough to cement her legendary status, but the cultural quips say it best. Cartoonist Bob Thaves famously reminded the world, "Sure, Fred Astaire was great, but don't forget that Ginger Rogers did everything he did, backwards and in heels." It's a phrase that has grown into a metaphor for feminine excellence in tough circumstances, a testament to how deeply she shaped pop culture. Beyond dance, she represented resilience. By the time she wrote her autobiography, Ginger, My Story, in 1991, she had already earned the respect of fans, critics, and industry insiders alike. She was honored at the Kennedy Center in 1992, a fitting tribute to a performer whose legacy transcended a single medium. In the book, she offered anecdotes about her own life, some comedic, some dramatic, and often left out any mention of the more salacious rumors, maintaining the elegant facade she always carried. Despite her many marriages, rumored affairs, controlling suitors, and personal convictions that puzzled even her closest friends, Ginger Rogers stood firm in a town notorious for breaking wills. She may have danced in perfect sync with Fred Astaire, but it was her iron resolve that kept her moving forward, even when powerful men like Howard Hughes threatened to overshadow her. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson from her life. In an industry defined by glittering illusions and hidden truths, real strength comes from knowing exactly who you are, and if necessary, returning the emerald ring when someone tries to make you forget. We're left with the echoes of her iconic dance numbers and the question, how did a small-town girl from Missouri outrun so many obstacles? Family strife, controlling lovers, a demanding career, and still come out smiling? Maybe her secret was the optimism she championed. Or maybe it was just sheer talent and a refusal to take second place. Whatever the case, Ginger Rogers remains an enduring symbol of grace under pressure, proving that sometimes you can turn even the messiest chapters of your life into a dance number the world will never forget. And who knows, maybe she really did do everything Fred Astaire did, only backwards and in heels.